Speeding. Speeding.
Speeding.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1.
The world is changing faster than ever. What used to take decades is now taking years or even months.
What you see right now is the illusion that people have had for many decades about the workplace being this secure place to work the rest of your life.
For the first time in the history of our nation, our children will not do as well as us.
We've seen our friends get laid off. We've been laid off. We've had our pay cut.
People are overworked and underpaid. They seem to have less time and less freedom. They live under constant pressure.
This is going to be forced. And so even if your employer loves you, they may have to cut you.
There's something wrong that on Monday morning, the heart attack rate increases by 35%.
Technology is accelerating, job security is declining. It just doesn't seem like the old models of making a living are as reliable as they used to be.
Every aspect of our lives, there's a better way out there, but we're still doing it the old way.
We live in the greatest country on the planet, and there are a lot of people sitting around complaining and being cynical.
Like everyone's whining about this old model, and I'm like, why don't you leave it? Look at all this over here. Look at all this opportunity.
Since so much of our lives revolve around our work and the way we make our living, many people are thinking there just has to be a better way.
The biggest challenge facing our world today is not making money, is what are we going to do with all the displaced, unemployed people?
People are afraid that they're going to make the wrong decision. People are afraid of the unknown. People are afraid that maybe I don't have the skills.
Hey, sports fans. Industrial age is over. It's dead. It's dying. That's why going to school to get a job is an obsolete idea. A steady paycheck is an industrial age idea.
It's the search for answers that has brought us here together today. My name is Eric Worre, and for almost 30 years I've been an entrepreneur, struggling at times, but ultimately succeeding. As a best-selling author, speaker, and business owner, I've spent my entire career helping millions of people around the world to become entrepreneurs. And I believe strongly that there is, in fact, a better way when it comes to how we make a living. The career landscape has changed dramatically, and many are still working in a model that is completely out of date. What worked for previous generations isn't working as well for people today. In this film, we're going to explore 3 important questions. First, what's really going on in our working world today? Second, in this new economy, is it better to become an entrepreneur, or is it safer to work for someone else? And third, if a person decides to become an entrepreneur and start their own business, how can they do it without taking on massive risk? To help in this journey, I've brought together some of the greatest experts and thought leaders in the field of entrepreneurship to share the real facts with you. My intention is to give you new information that will allow you to make choices that are not limited by an old, outdated model. Let's start by understanding what's going on in our working world today.
Let's look at unemployment. 30-40% of the people are honestly not working, but would be working. What our government does is if you haven't found a job in 6 months, we don't call you unemployed. We pretend you dropped out of the labor force. I've often said that unemployment, particularly structural unemployment, that's unemployment due to technological changes, is the first sign of economic growth. Think of it, 10 people live on an island. They go out every day and fish. One day, new technology shows up. A missionary brings them a net. Now, using the net, one pilots the boat, one throws the net. 2 fishermen can do all the work 10 used to. That's a 500% increase in productivity, 2 doing the work of 10, in one day. You don't have to learn a lot to learn how to throw a net instead of throw a fishing line. The island's got a big problem, 80% unemployment. But the island still has all the wealth of the fish because the 2 people produce as much fish as 10 did. Now, of course, looking back in history, these changes used to take thousands of years. And during that time, we went into farming and transportation. Some of us became doctors and some teachers and lawyers, and we developed all these new professions and new manufacturing jobs. Today, these changes are occurring literally in one day when a new technological advance occurs, and we don't have the social structures to deal with it or to retrain the unemployed people.
So one of the things that I think is interesting as I travel across the country and really travel around the world is the way that we work and the way we get paid for work is changing pretty dramatically.
On a global basis, everything is being turned upside down because of the rapidly advancing technologies. They are eliminating many jobs, and we have been left with many people not prepared for the jobs that exist.
A lot of demand in public companies was to squeeze out all the fat and to get just as much margin as we possibly could, and fat equals humans.
So this idea of job security in information age is so obsolete, but it's still taught inside our school system, and that's where the problem starts. There's no financial education in the school system, and people are still trained to be employees who work for that paycheck. This is a chart on the middle class. What's happening in the middle class, those that went to school, their incomes have been coming down for years. And parents still say to their kids, go to school, get a job. Now what happens to all those middle class people who are dropping off the ends of the chart? Well, they become what's called working poor. And this is what happens to working poor. But they say poverty is ending. Well, poverty may be ending, but working poverty is going up. And this is food stamp usage. So food stamp usage in America is going through the roof right now, because people cannot earn what they call a living wage.
Most people have experienced financial pressures that I think are probably greater than they have been in the past.
If you're not working for yourself, then it's going to be a pretty hard road for a lot of people.
Today, if you're going to control your future, the 40-40 plan is gone, where you can graduate from college and get a job and work for 40 hours a week for 40 years. That day is gone.
So some of these charts actually tell you what's going on. And this is a really interesting one, you know. People are going back to school because if I go back to school, I'll get a nice job. But this is what's happening to, it's called Sallie Mae, which is the student loan guys. Student loan is going through the roof. It's now over $1 trillion, and student loan debt is worse than credit card debt. So when people stopped using credit card, the government got people into student loan debt. And the problem with student loan debt is you can never be forgiven. See, with credit card debt, you can declare bankruptcy and then all's forgiven. But student loan debt, you can declare bankruptcy, you still owe it. It's the worst of all debt. But this is the next picture. Look at this chart here. This is what's happening to wages of college graduates. It's going down. So you go to college, you rack up all this debt, but you earn less money. Now, that's not that intelligent.
Average person who's been working a lifetime in America today is ending their lifetime at 65 with about $41,000 in assets. They earned just enough to survive.
I think in the United States we have something like 17 trillion in debt.
That's just the federal government debt. We got another 2 in municipal, and in other, let's call it almost 20 trillion government. We've got 40 trillion in private debt. That comes up to close to 60 trillion. When you then add something we never had before, what you were talking about, when we look at the unfunded portion of Social Security and primarily Medicare, Medicaid, that at the most conservative estimates from outside firms, Kleiner Perkins, 67 trillion and growing. That's more than all our other debt. There's less conservative estimates that say it's 84 trillion or higher. I added up conservatively $127 trillion in total debt. Debt is a financial drug. When you take it to excess, it's like taking a drug. Yeah, it makes you feel better, it enhances your performance, but at a huge cost, eventually it kills you. And so that's what happens. We keep doing more and more debt, and you get less and less results, just like a drug, until the debt gets so high that it crushes the whole system. That's where we're at, 8.2 times GDP.
You know who I feel sorry for? I feel sorry for the person who dreads going to work, who is sick to their stomach on Monday morning, who hates their alarm clock, who gets a little glimmer of hope on a Wednesday because it's hump day and says, thank God it's Friday. And they live for those 2 days a week where they get to be themselves and they don't have to be around people they don't like, and they don't have to play the political game in the office, and they don't have to live this half life. The person that works 50 weeks a year just to be able to have the 2 weeks for vacation. And you know what happens to most of them nowadays? They don't have a vacation. They have a staycation. They have time off of work, but they don't get to go where they want to go because they're overextended. They've got all this debt. They got all this situation. They hate their alarm clock. They can't sleep until they're done. They have to spend most of their life in traffic. I feel sorry for that group of people because there's a better way. They just don't know it.
I see this really interesting attempt at rugged individuality in a 6x8 rectangle. And I feel like you're all the same, except for the little push pins of the pictures. There's different pictures. Yours is named Jenny and his is named Sujara, but it's the same people.
And this is how they are, and they're just like the zombies, and there's no joy in there, there's no fun. There's always like the wacky woman who decorates her cubicle, and that's the most she can do there. You got to give her credits, right? The wacky cubicle woman.
The basis for their life is worry. I'm worried, you know, maybe I'll get fired. I'm worried maybe my company will go out of business. I'm worried I can't keep spinning the plates on paying the bills. I'm worried about how do I send my kids to college. I'm worried, what if the transmission of my car breaks? That's, you know, 2 or 3, I can't fix it. People live in a sea of worry, and it eats at them.
Those signs that people held up during the Depression didn't say looking for gainful employment in a cubicle. It said looking for work. Work is what we're looking for. Job is just a unit of measurement. Work is what we're going after.
It's time to look in the mirror and say, it's not the economy, it's my economy. It's my little world of where I am. I need to improve. I'm not going to wait for the economy to come back because, frankly, the economy is doing great in this country.
So I'm here on Wall Street, the financial center of the universe, the financial capital of the world. This is where most people's money goes to at least be held for a time, right? With interest rates in banks being effectively zero, and many experts are predicting it's going to stay at zero for the next 10, 20, even 30 years, people feel like they don't have any choice but to put their future into equities, to put their future into the hands of other people on this stock market, and hope that the stock market goes up, hope that the stocks that their advisors pick or that they pick goes up. That's one way to go, I guess. It's my personal belief that if you put your future into the hands of yourself, in other words, you have earning power by yourself, I think you're a better investment than these guys. I think you controlling your future is a better option than handing over your retirement to these guys. The average household income in the United States is approximately $50,000 a year, what they call the middle class. To reach the top 25% of income earners, you'd need to earn at least $90,000 a year. To reach the top 10% would be a household income of $140,000, the top 5%, $190,000, and to be in the top 1%, you'd need a combined household income of at least $380,000 a year. So here's the question. What do you think would give you the best chance to move up and get to the top 10%, the top 5%, the top 1% or beyond? In my opinion, and in the opinion of many, many experts, the answer is to become an entrepreneur, to become your own boss.
I think you have to be a business owner. I can't, the only time I ever say to someone it'd be great to be an employee is when they've already told me they've surrendered. I only tell people who are wounded spiritually that they should be an employee. And it's that feeling that you get when you pick up the backpack off the little Cub Scout and say, don't worry, little guy, we'll get you back to the camp. You know, it is in no way a kindness when I tell someone they'd be a great employee.
The other status symbol really increasingly is lifestyle. I mean, people can own their own business, maybe even work out of their house. That, I tell you, people admire that. Like, gosh, I wish I could do that.
The spirit of the entrepreneur is to be a risk taker and to be resourceful and unstoppable and to have a vision of yourself beyond where you are and not willing to settle for life as it is.
Think about the great entrepreneurs. They're visionary. They have heart. They're willing to do today what others won't so they can do tomorrow what others can't.
Personally, I don't think of the new economy, the old economy. I create my own economy. The entrepreneur's in control. I decide what the economy is going to be like.
In the world of entrepreneurship, there are no limits. you can make as much as you want, depending on how much you want to work and how smart you are and how great a team you put together.
There's no more lifetime rewarding business than being an entrepreneur.
Why in America, where anyone could be anything, would people want to give up their freedom and become effectively a modern-day slave, told shut up and be here every morning at 7:30, leave at 5:30, and do what I tell you?
If people decide to become an entrepreneur and work for themselves, they have some traditional options, but they're riskier than you might think.
Any kind of a retail business, retail build-outs, is extremely expensive. Even just these small little yogurt stores where they're putting little yogurt machines and you get all the different flavors, you're spending $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to open a yogurt shop.
I would love to buy a Dunkin' Donuts, but it's $500,000 or so to start. I don't quite have that just in case money.
Risk you can lose it all, and most guys do 2 or 3 times, and even big guys like Branson, because I'm such a fan of his, half his companies don't work. If you make $1 million, your problems are going to go. If you make $1 billion, your problems are really going to go. Just the opposite. You and I know when you're making $1 million, you get $1 million responsibilities. You make $1 billion, you got 1,000 times $1 million responsibilities.
And most people say, I'd love to be my own boss. 70% of Americans would love to be their own boss, according to recent polls. But they don't know how to get there. Because what are you going to do? One, you could buy an existing business. If somebody's selling an existing business, you have to ask why. Usually because it's probably hard. It's probably not making as much money as they hope. 2, they could buy a franchise, a little less risk, proven system, but it's expensive to be able to do that. 3, they could start something from scratch. And that's where a lot of people feel like, I don't have the chops to do it. I don't have the money. I don't have the product idea. I don't have the expertise. I don't have whatever it's going to take to be able to get there, and I can't risk my family to do it. So 4th, they could become an investor. A lot of people in this town invest to try and figure out a way, but you got to be pretty smart with that game too, right?
Venture capitalists, who are the very best and most sophisticated in investing in new breakthrough businesses, make it on 1 out of 11. That means 10 out of 11 are mediocre or fail. Most of them fail. That's the risk there. An angel investor is lucky to get 1 out of 15 or 20.
A business is a team sport. Like, I have to have accountants, I have to have engineers, I have to have systems designers, I have to have sales, marketing, I have to have accounting, I have to have mission statements, I have to have legal and all that. The average Joe Schmo, even me, I go out there, I don't have the skills to put a business together.
I think the bottom line for the 4 traditional options is they take money, sometimes a lot of it. They take expertise, and they take time. All of that adds up to just too much risk for most people.
I bought a business from somebody else and it was a lot of work, and you start wondering, what did I just buy? Because I guess ultimately I own your email list and I just overpaid for it.
People that start their own business, they spend a lot of money, they spend a lot of time, a lot of effort to get things started. And the more you invest on the upfront, the harder you typically work at it.
I can tell you what the success rate is of a restaurant.
What is it?
They're crazy enough. About 90% of them fail.
About 90%, in how quickly?
Year less.
Wow.
And if we're talking non-franchise, we're talking franchise,
Sure.
That's totally different.
Yeah.
But our students aren't getting franchise restaurants.
You got to invest big money.
Exactly. And with someone like McDonald's, you've had to work with the company for a long period of time, really know the
To even have a chance at investing $1 million.
have a chance, and it's a slim chance.
What if there was a way that you had all the proven aspects, the comfort aspects, and you could still control your own life? What if there was both? In other words, you didn't have to create everything from scratch. You didn't have to be a super leader. All you had to do, what if there was a proven product already? You didn't have to create the product. And there's a proven system already, proven training already. Everything except an employer. That was the only thing that you didn't have. Do you think more people would be open to working for themselves in that environment? In our search for a better way to make a living, we've come to the conclusion that becoming an entrepreneur is actually safer than being an employee. And through our look at the entrepreneurial options, one particular path kept coming up from expert after expert. And I think most people will find it surprising because it's certainly a non-traditional business model. That model is for people to start their own business and become an entrepreneur through the creation of a network marketing business. Some people call it direct selling because the product is being sold directly from the manufacturer to the end consumer, cutting out the middlemen. Other people call it multi-level marketing, or MLM, because there are multiple levels of commissions paid. The most common term today is network marketing, because network marketing best describes using a large group of independent distributors, independent entrepreneurs, to move a product or service more efficiently.
So my friend here, Donald Trump, and I, we always write about the network marketing industry. And the reason we support the network marketing industry is because it really is a business school for entrepreneurs. Because most people come out of school looking for a paycheck. Oh, that's terrible.
I went to network marketing like that. I think if it didn't exist, we should invent it. It is that good.
I think direct selling is a great way to do business today. It's very easy to get into that industry, and you can be self-employed, be, in effect, an entrepreneur.
When we see multi-billionaires adding network marketing companies to their portfolio of companies, that would be a clue. When we see people who are very famous authors and very famous business people endorsing the industry, that would be a clue.
These network marketing companies aren't $50 million companies. They're billions and billions of dollars. They lead the stock market. They're major companies.
When we're going to get it? You know, and you're going to school to work for a paycheck. But if you want to be rich, be an entrepreneur. And network marketing gives you the spirit to be an entrepreneur.
A traditional company will spend up to 50% of their total revenue on marketing. Network marketing companies use a different approach. Instead of having all that extensive marketing expense, they utilize a network of independent distributors to do the marketing for them. Now, why do they do this? First, because word-of-mouth advertising is so much more effective today than traditional media advertising. Second, some products need to be explained or demonstrated, and an independent salesperson can do that more effectively than an ad campaign. Third, it's completely efficient. The company only pays for the marketing of their product if a sale happens and not before. Imagine if Amazon allowed you to become an independent distributor and paid out 40% of its revenue to that distributor group. All you had to do as a distributor was recommend a product, and if a person bought it on Amazon, Amazon would take care of all the logistics, and you'd get paid for bringing the customer. Now imagine you got paid for every purchase that customer made for the rest of their lives. Well, Amazon doesn't offer this option, but network marketing companies do.
85% of all buying decisions in our society are made as a result of word of mouth or reputation.
We're recommending things to each other all the time. You know, who's your dentist? Who's your doctor? Who's your lawyer? What detergent, are you using? What legal system are you using? What product are you using? We're talking to each other about the things that we love anyway.
When you go into a big box retailer, you're lucky if the clerk looks you in the eye, much less gives you any detailed or accurate information about what you're purchasing. So of course, this personal information, this education coming from a friend, a neighbor, a relative, or even a stranger, but one who has experience with the product is extraordinarily valuable.
As a matter of fact, network marketing can educate consumers probably better than any other form of marketing. It certainly can do better than advertising because advertising usually has a certain hype to it and you can only get limited information. So, network marketing trumps advertising.
If you were a typical sales company and you wanted to sell $1 million a month worth of product, you might go find 100 superstar salespeople. The quota would be $10,000 a month. So network marketing as a distribution system just flips the numbers. So we use 10,000 happy, raving fans of a particular product, and we don't concern ourselves so much with how much product each one of them individually sells. If they sell just $100 or $200 a month, and there's 10,000 of them, you're selling $1 million to $2 million a month worth of product. And that's the best way I can explain how network marketing works.
This is the marketing arm of the company. There's not money being wasted on bricks and mortar. There's not money being wasted on inventory that's sitting stagnant somewhere. There's not of employees standing around that don't have customers. These are people that are going to connect with customers.
These companies allow people to become independent distributors for extremely low cost and with no minimum time or sales quota. Essentially, they own their own business and can provide as much or as little sales as they choose. In other words, The distributor gets all the benefits of traditional business ownership without the risk.
The advantage of network marketing is the ease of entry, the low risk, and the low startup cost, because almost everything else has very high risk.
You can get in for a minimal investment. You're buying into a system that's already been proven, products or services that have been proven to work.
The keys to network marketing is providing an opportunity for the masses to get involved.